All right. So what I'm going to speak about tonight, I'm going to tell you what I think about e-commerce in Vietnam, give you my perspective, of course, which is pretty Lazada oriented, and tell you what I think about what's going to happen in the next years. Boom. All right. So what are these? I need to stay here? Okay, sorry. You're videoing me. Okay. So these are two figures that are pretty important, at least in terms of e-commerce dynamics. Does anybody knows? Kerry, do you know what it is?
2% China growth?
Come on. Nah. Who has any idea? You? Conversion rate, I wish. What? Right. It's the e-commerce penetration over the retail industry in Vietnam right now. 2%. I think it's actually lower. It really depends on what you are looking for, whether you take travel and everything inside. But I think it's pretty lower. What is this one? So who answered? So I'm sure you know. Kerry, okay. Second chance. What is 10%?
Your profit?
My profit?
Yeah. Your personal profit?
And I wish again. Yeah. So who knows? You know? Do you know? No, it's higher, man. Come on, that's insulting. Okay. So this is the e-commerce penetration in China. And actually, it's probably higher than this, right? So I think the question is, where are we going? So right now we're here. It's not that big. But if you look at China, it's more than 10, it's probably 15%. Just to give you an order of magnitude, in China, Alibaba ships 35 million orders every day. 35 million. So just to give you a bit of an idea, right? So are we going to get there? So there are a lot of questions. Of course, I'm super convinced. But tonight I'm going to give you a few elements why I'm that convinced. And if I'm not convinced, I mean, who is, right? Okay, I know it's me. Boom. All right. So what do you look at when you're thinking, are we going, or is e-commerce going to work or not? So you look at the supply and the demand, or the other way around, you look at the demand and the supply. So is the market ready to buy on e-commerce? You can look at a couple of things, but if you look at a simple metric, obviously you look at the GDP, the number of people who buy, regardless of where they do. And Vietnam, it's a pretty nice country, is growing. +5, +6% GDP per year. It's pretty good. I think I'm personally from France. I think in France it's the same, but negative, right? So you have a country that is growing, so this means that even if I do nothing and if I just smoke cigarette over there, my business will still grow 5% every year. So that's pretty good. Then what do you want to look at to see if the e-commerce is going to grow? The second thing is, do people have access to internet? So the first thing is internet penetration. The second thing is smartphone penetration. Internet penetration is growing 5% a year. 5 points, not 5%, 5 points. From 40 to 45 to 50. Smartphone penetration, 25, 30, 35, the same thing. So if you compound all things together, GDP and the growth of the access to internet, you have minimum 10 points of growth every year. So we are in a market, Vietnam plus internet, that is growing 10 points every year, regardless of what we do. That's extremely positive. So that's the first thing. What is this? Okay, I said it. Then the second thing is about the supply, right? So, and I think it's even more important. The question is, what kind of assortment do we have on the website? So here, you have two models. I don't know if you know e-commerce very well, but just to give you the simplistic view, is either your retail industry or you're a marketplace. So if you're retail, you own the product. You go, you call Samsung, you say, I want to buy your products, I want to buy your Samsung S7. You put it in your warehouse and you sell it. That's retail. That's what Amazon does. On the other side of the spectrum, you have Alibaba. Alibaba does marketplace. They don't own a single product. They work with players who put their product on the website, and then Alibaba facilitates the transaction between the customers and the merchant, right? So it's either retail or marketplace. Lazada, obviously, and even more, since we have been acquired by Alibaba, we are into a marketplace model. And this is, in my view, a far stronger model. And I tell you why. And if you look at the marketplace model, it works only if you have merchants. If you have a player who tells you, I want to go on Lazada, I want to put my products. So to give you an order of magnitude, so 5 years ago, when we started the marketplace on Lazada, it was very, very difficult to convince players. They would tell us, I don't believe in e-commerce, it's not going to work. Vietnam Post is super slow. I mean, credit card, nobody has a credit card. A lot of things why it wouldn't work. Today, there are minimum 100,000 players that do e-commerce in Vietnam, minimum. If you look at the marketplace for Sendo, Atharoy, Lazada, you have minimum 100,000 active sellers. So this is the kind of things. The supply is there. And the second thing about the supply is the logistics. So if you think about it, Vietnam Post 5 years ago, they didn't have an e-commerce, they didn't have a B2C capabilities. They would not send parcel. Right now, the capacity of the system, which is Vietnam Post, Vitel, Yoanyan, all these players is more than 100,000 orders every day. So we went from 0 to 100,000. So if I look at the demand and the supply, it's extremely, extremely positive. So I'm not going to talk about these 4 points because otherwise everybody falls asleep. It's going to be very long. So I'm going to spend some time on this one. So this is the evolution of our model. This is just Lazada, but a lot of players are following that trend. In 2012, we were 100% retail. All the products that we were selling were belonging to Lazada. Right now, we are 80% marketplace. So why is marketplace superior? I'll give you a few elements. So the first one is the power of scale. So the first thing that matters for an e-commerce players, and I think for any retailers, is the assortment. Any retail actor, so if I take the example of Tiki, of course I'm not here to bitch about Tiki, it's not the point. So Tiki is a retailer, they do 100% retail. They have 10,000 products, 10,000 SKU, and it's pretty good already. I think they are very good. But they cannot manage more than this. It's difficult for them to manage more than this because you have to manage the inventory, you have to manage the content, you need to do the work yourself on everything. And it's a lot of work. If you do marketplace, you outsource all of this. That's why it's scalable, right? Since we've went from the retail model to a marketplace, the assortment has gone from 10,000 to 500,000, and it could go to millions and millions. So this is the scalability of it. The second thing is the expertise. So if you go into retail model, you can have like 10, 20 buyers, and you need to cover all categories. But if you look at the assortment today, I have phones, we have fridges, and we have, for example, pet supplies, so food for fishes, right? Will I get a buyer who is expert in what the fish eat? I don't think so. However, if you go into a marketplace, you can have 1 or 2 merchants who are specialized in pet supplies. So that's the point. We can really have an assortment that is managed by not 10 buyers, but 1,000 buyers. If I have 1,000 merchants, if every merchant is a specialist in his category, then I leverage 1,000 buyers' expertise. That's why it's superior as well. Marketplace, you don't bear the risk of the inventory, which I think any retailer will think it's pretty good. One more thing is about the logistic footprint. If you have a marketplace, you have a lot of merchants who have warehouse across the country, so that when you deliver, you can pick the product in the warehouse and deliver to the customer. If you're good enough, if you're lucky enough, you have merchants who have several warehouses. So if the merchant has warehouse, let's say, in Hue, Hanoi, and Ho Chi Minh, then wherever the customer is, you can deliver pretty fast. If you're under the retail model, then you need to have yourself several warehouses to cover the country. So marketplace is a logistic demultiplier. Okay, this I said already. And why it's superior to the customers, I think it's mainly the assortment game. So this is what marketplace is a super strong model. So let's look at the evolution of the merchants. So this is the evolution of the marketplace base, the merchant base in Lazada. So this obviously tells you a massive growth. I think what is interesting to understand is there is a difference between what we call hunted sellers and self-registered sellers. So in one case, we have to hunt them. We need to knock on their door and tell, come on, Lazada. The orange one, they come themselves. So we see a kind of evolution that shows that while a few years back, when we had to knock on the door and convince people, now it's the other way around. They come on the platform naturally and they get registered online. So you have this kind of trend, both in terms of number of merchants and in terms of who is trying to get on the marketplace, who is pushing. So we went from push to pull. That's what is happening. Oh, this is not interesting. Boom. Next thing. So this is about, sorry, come on. All right. So if you want to have a marketplace, you need to acquire the merchants. But one thing is to have a lot of merchants. The other thing is to have a lot of merchants that are successful. And it's all about education. If you have 5,000 merchants on your platform and they don't know what to do, then you don't do any sales. So I think that what I see is the role of Lazada is to acquire the merchants and to teach them how to be successful. So high-level view on what we do to acquire our merchants. We think that it's a 3-month journey. So when you acquire merchants, you get on the platform. Then the first step, obviously, is to put his assortment. But then you have a lot of things that are e-commerce specific, and it's not on this slide, but it's mainly on how to present your product, how to put the right pictures, how to make the right description so that the customer will buy. I think if you look at the hurdles of e-commerce, people don't trust e-commerce fully yet. I think it's easier to get in a shop, look at the products, smell it, touch it, whatever, versus buy it on e-commerce, right? So what you need is to have the right pictures, the right description, to build this trust so that people don't think they're going to cheat it. So the ability to present your product in a way that is e-commerce friendly and builds the trust is really the knowledge that we try to give to the merchant. So the overall journey of a merchant is what we're trying to do. Teach them how to sell on e-commerce. It's about teaching them how to do the right pictures, setting the right price, putting the right products, how to play with the campaigns, how to push your products on online marketing. This is an overall education that is a 3-month cycle. How do we do it? I think it's a bit boring. Let's move on. So the last part that is very important for me is the marketplace. How do we do it? We could be a marketplace which is a free marketplace where we don't have any control on the merchant base and what they put. And I think this is very important because, again, the main obstacle to e-commerce is customer trust. They need to feel that whatever they buy is going to be the product they expect to buy. If you have a kind of free marketplace where there is no control neither at the entry, when the seller is registered or during the life cycle of the seller, then you get wrong products, you get fake products, you get bad customer experience, which is exactly the main hurdle of e-commerce today, right? So what do we need to do? There is a kind of Lazada merchant charter which is on 3 things. The first one is if you put a product that is not genuine, we take you offline. That's the main thing. The second thing is that you need to be careful about your packaging because this is the first step of the customer experience when you receive the products. And the third thing is you need to ship your product in time. Of course, the first one is the most important, but for each of these elements which manage the customer experience is preventive and corrective. Preventive meaning before a merchant gets on the marketplace, we have a couple of check, due diligence to make sure that he can fulfill these 3 elements. And then during the life cycle, if there is any behavior that goes against any of these rules, of course we have either penalties or we put the seller offline. So that's the main rules of the marketplace. Do I have time, Kerry? How much time do I have? Yeah? Okay. So there are a lot of things that I won't talk about tonight, so I really focus on the supply. So what do we do to make sure we have a lot of merchants that perform well on Lazada? But we are really e-commerce in Vietnam is really in its infancy. A lot of things are going to happen, a lot of things are going to make it improve. So if I just quote a couple of them, of course, internet penetration is increasing 5 points a year. Smartphone penetration, the payment is pretty Stone Age. So as you may know, or you may not know, but 95% of the payment on e-commerce are done through cash on delivery, 5% through credit card only, which is extremely cash on delivery dependent. And we don't have, there are some e-wallet solutions, but they are not deployed that much. And one thing that is not cracked at all is the rural penetration of e-commerce. If you look at the 2% that I have shown at the start of the presentation, which is the penetration over retail, in rural areas, it's really 0. And it's a kind of, it's not, in French we say paradox, I don't know if it works in English, but it's pretty interesting because if you look at the rural areas, it's really exactly where e-commerce can win. And why is it so? Because in rural areas, all the shops, the assortment they put is pretty poor. They just put the short tail. If you live in a small village, you're not going to bring 20,000 SKUs. All the shop owners only have 100. So the assortment size is far lower in rural areas for these reasons. That's the power of e-commerce. Lazada has the same assortment in Sapa, in Hanoi, in Ho Chi Minh, in Kanto, in Da Nang, in Hue. And our prices are better. So that's why when we crack rural area, the sales of e-commerce are going to be multiplied by 10. But this is a customer education. And that's not the topic of tonight. Couple of things where we want to work against Alibaba framework. If you look at the ecosystem of internet today, of e-commerce, you have the platform like Lazada, you have the merchant, and then you have the marketing actor. If you look at Alibaba today and the ecosystem in China, you have these 3 elements, but you have a myriad of actors that are in between. So for example, today, the warehousing activity, I do it for some merchants. But in China, the way L'Oréal works, you have L'Oréal, you have Alibaba, and in between, you have what they call an Alibaba partner, who manage L'Oréal brand on behalf of L'Oréal on Alibaba. So there is a kind of ecosystem where Alibaba totally step out of the business, it's just an IT platform, and then the retailer become e-commerce expert themselves. So this overall ecosystem is going to take off here. I don't know when exactly, but it's going to be fantastic as well. And the last one is, I don't know if you follow the activity or the e-commerce news in Indonesia. So you have a player called Gojek, which is an army of drivers. It's a kind of, several thousands of freelancers who can deliver any product within 2 hours. And this is going to be a revolution as well for e-commerce. So if you buy in e-commerce in Indonesia, you want a product, you click, I want it in 2 hours, then you have a guy on a scooter who gets it and pick it up and delivers to you. So there are a couple of players who can do that in Vietnam. So it's pretty first stage yet, but this is as well an e-commerce accelerator. So get back to the question at the start. So we are now at 2%. The objective is to get to 10%, 1 million orders a day. And I think it's going to take far less than 10 years. Thank you.